So today we're going to talk about transfer speculation, because I think I've just worked out something that Newcastle are doing in the market that will change Newcastle's club structure going forward and our ability to spend in future windows. This might be the smartest piece of business I've ever seen from Newcastle in their history, and this all pivots on selling Bruno Guimarães. So where we're going to start is looking at the players we've sold and who we've brought in, and then move further on to where I think the club's going to sell and what I think we're going to reinvest the money in with the linked players that are being looked at. But before we start, thank you to everybody for getting involved. We are one subscriber away from hitting our next milestone of 2,000. The community is getting richer, fuller. The opinions are coming in like wildfire. Like, subscribe, hype, do all the good things. I can't thank you enough for all the kind comments and the opinions that have come in to allow us to debate what's going on with this football club. But if you're new around here, I'm Adam. This is Two for Joy. Get down there, like, hype, subscribe, like I said. But most of all, hit me up in the comments, because I really want your opinion on what you think we're doing in this transfer window. Otherwise, let's get into it. So where we're going with this, we're going to start going through transfers in and out as they come, trying to replace what we think is mismatched. But Anthony Gordon is our first out, and I don't believe Gordon was replaced. I believe that Gordon was divided. And this is the key point of this summer's window. Newcastle have replaced one sale with two signings. So if you take a Gordon out, Ewan Jowan and Bazamana Toure come in. So we've got one exciting goalkeeper for the future and one exciting winger, which adds more depth, more resale value and less financial risk. Instead of replacing Anthony Gordon for 70 million with another winger for 70 million, we've managed to bring in two high potential, high profile signings who we believe will have resale value down the line. And when I move further into this, Sandro Tonali, this shows it isn't a coincidence. Exactly the same pattern. So when we talk through Sandro Tonali being sold to Tottenham Hotspur for 100 million, the money has been spread across three different players, with Sean Sturr, Aladji Bamba and Lucas Hornacek coming in. That's twice Newcastle have chosen to sell a high-profile target and replace with volume. And this is what I've been talking about in seasons previous, where we need to raise the floor of this team rather than raising the ceiling. And I believe what Newcastle are doing is we're building a sustainable business model for the future, where we can actually go on to sell these talents further down the line, should we as fans not get too attached to them like we do. But this becomes the turning point. Bruno Guimarães, and we know Bruno is set to go. I think all Newcastle fans are well aware that Newcastle will sell Bruno, but only for the right price. And the reason that right price has to come in is because naturally, who I think we're indicating towards signing, and I want to go into this in a little bit of depth, but the player that's being linked to replace Bruno as our centre midfielder is Victor Froholdt. I might have butchered that name. I apologise if I have. But he has a £73 million release clause. He's a brilliant player who's currently playing for Porto. And he's got a great profile. He's a really young, exciting talent. A lot of clubs have been looking at him. But why spend almost that entire budget on one player if it doesn't fit the pattern we've already been signing? So this is where I disagree with the media. I disagree with the links, and where I actually think Newcastle are going to head with spreading that money across another 2 to 3 signings. And the first link I'm going to go to is Hadj Moussa. And I know I've mentioned this previously. Plays for Feyenoord. Feyenoord are currently on the verge of signing Nicolas Wundbrand, who is a right winger who's almost a direct replacement for Moussa, a few years younger. They're getting a good fee on him. And the key thing with Moussa is that Jaissle wanted to bring Moussa to Al Ahly. Jaissle had made inquiries, Al Ahly had made inquiries about bringing Moussa from Feyenoord. They saw him as a fit the style, fit the mould player that would be able to come into that Al Ahly team and give them something different as an option. And the biggest thing with this, and this is personally where I feel this could be the Jacob Murphy replacement, is he's valued around 30 million. Feyenoord would make a good bit of business off of this. Newcastle would adapt our right-hand side by having a left-footed right winger rather than two right-footed right wingers. We currently have Bazamana Toure on the left, who is a right-footer, or left-footer, sorry, and we have Harvey Barnes, who's a right-footer. We have versatility to be able to go outside or come inside. I genuinely believe Jaissle is looking at this to have the same options down the right-hand side, and Moussa would be a fantastic signing, fits the mould and fits the fee. The next player we move on to who's been linked, and this would be the kind of Bruno replacement in the centre for experience. And I believe there's two options here. There's an experienced player that's played in the Bundesliga who offers us probably a step up from the midfielders we have currently. Or there's a trusted player from Jaissle's background who would be able to step into this role, and he would know exactly what he's going to get from that signing. And the first player, the experienced player that I'm sure we've all heard of, Angelo from Stuttgart. He's progressive. He's excellent value-wise. He was brought into Stuttgart from Hoffenheim, Jaissle's old club, for only £5 million. So they would definitely make on him. They would definitely be able to get a positive balance sheet from selling him. And he fits the possession style football that I believe Jaissle wants to play. The second is Luka Sučić. Now, Jaissle already knows him. He's trusted. He understands the system that Jaissle likes to play. And less adaptation is needed in order for him to come into this role in this squad. And I think it will be one of these two centre midfielders. Personally, I find it difficult to pick. It depends whether he wants to go with trusted or bring a bit more experience into this team. But the big picture of this entire thing that I'm not sure whether other YouTubers are talking about or not, you'll have to let me know. But it's forgetting the individual players. We're talking about wage bill. Because squad cost ratio is coming in this season, and this is a massive handicap to Newcastle, having players like Gordon, Tonali, Bruno on huge wages. And there are murmurings that Joel Linton could be off to Saudi. It looks like Newcastle and Ross Wilson are trying to redevelop this squad by bringing that wage cost down and bringing it down so Newcastle have the flexibility in the market to be able to go out and spend should they need to. They're going to come in with a younger squad, greater flexibility, and have the spending power to go out in the market and challenge should they need to push forward this team in future. And the big thing for me is really, finally, Newcastle aren't standing still. I'd said it probably for the last two seasons. Even when we won the cup, I wasn't really that confident in the way Newcastle was spending money. It always felt like we'd go through January windows and never really dip our toes in the water, and we'd save for the summer, and then in summer it would be really hostile to try and get players. And we were trying to bargain for huge value players. And this isn't Newcastle shopping in a bargain bin. This is Newcastle evolving this squad into a younger progressive team with a younger progressive manager. And I'd rather, and I said this on previous videos, I would rather see Newcastle go out and spend 20 to 30 million on a young progressive talent who can offer us potential in future than put down a big 75 million marker on someone they believe will be a top signing or a top player, a superstar. Because that superstar, if he does grow, he'll outgrow the rest of the squad around him. And that's the key where we're seeing players like we are with Gordon, Tonali, Bruno. And we look around at the players that are left that have been the Eddie Howe mainstays. And those players aren't on that level. And this is where Newcastle need to grow a team together. It's a team, not 5 individuals, 4 individuals who are top talents, but actually growing a team. So realistically, I think Newcastle are heading in this direction where we will bring the squad cost ratio down in order to have more flexibility in the market. And the signings that we're going for is by selling 1 and replacing with 2 or replacing with 3 and raising the floor of this squad. I personally believe the expectation on Newcastle this season is that we'll be in a relegation battle. Everybody's saying Newcastle are screwed. There's no chance. They've sold all their best players. But what I will say is there's also no expectation. And when there's no expectation, it may well give these players and this manager the freedom to play with expression. And if there's one thing I know about Newcastle and its fan base, is that we are an underdog. We've always been an underdog. And if the fans believe enough and buy enough into this system, when these kids go out and play, there's nothing like having the 52,000 Geordies at St James's Park behind them. And when everybody thought we wouldn't beat PSG, we did. This is the point. With the Newcastle fans, with this new style of football, with this new young squad, realistically, the sky's the limit. But there's no expectation. And that's what I believe will give Newcastle the best chance this year of doing something special. If you agree with me, disagree with me, don't care. Hit me up in the comments, let me know what you think. And like I say, if you've enjoyed the video, like, hype, subscribe, do all the good things. Thank you so much for getting involved. Thank you to Christopher Hilferty, still my only member. Thank you, Christopher. Memberships are available. Everything on the channel is free. I will try and do something for members in the future coming up. But for now, thank you, Christopher. Thank you guys for watching. And remember, the next one of you that subs puts us at 2,000. Thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.